Before I start this video, I want to preface it by saying that I don't think Avowed is a bad game. In fact, I had a ton of fun playing Avowed, and I think that if you have Game Pass, this is absolutely something worth picking up. There's a lot of fun to be had here. With that being said, I think Avowed is a sad excuse for an RPG.
You ever come back to a place and feel like the buildings are smaller and the colors are duller?
No, I'm not lazy. There's a reason why I titled this video similar to my Kingdom Come Deliverance 2 video, because as I stated in that video, these two games represent two different sides of the gaming perspective spectrum. On one hand, KCD2 embarrassed the industry because a AA studio on a low budget put out one of the best RPGs of the last decade that asked all the underachieving established studios, hey, why can't you do this again? Avowed embarrassed the industry because they put those underachieving aspects on full display for everybody to see right after KCD2 came out. Obsidian getting bodied by a AA studio wasn't something I had on my bingo card probably ever. They created two of the best RPGs, the best games of all time. Back in the day with KOTOR 2 and Fallout New Vegas, they earned their spot in the pantheon of the most reliable studios in the business. Nowadays, Obsidian makes games that nobody cares about. You never hear anyone talking about their recent games. The Outer Worlds, despite looking like this, found a way to have a boring story, grounded in Pentiment while being critically acclaimed, were games that nobody asked for. Of course, these are two genres I can't stand, survival games and conversation simulators. And in an interview with PC Gamer, they stated that they approach every development with the thought that the games will be a mild success instead of a smash hit. Which, if you read this article about how they want to remain focused and not expand too much, on its face, it doesn't sound too bad. But then you look at Avowed, and you hear what they say about budgeting, and it just feels like they're settling for mild success. They're just settling for okay. And that is exactly what Avowed is. It's just okay. But from a studio that gave us two of the best games ever, just okay is not okay. And in some cases, Avowed feels years behind the times, and it goes from okay to laughably bad. But what makes Avowed just okay, and why is it my most disappointing game so far of 2025? Well, let's wake ourselves up, shall we? So strap in, boys and girls, and let's get down to business. Avowed takes place in the Pillars of Eternity universe. Don't worry, I haven't played them either. You are the Imperial envoy sent to the Living Lands to find the cure to the Dream Scourge, a plague that makes people lose their minds and turn into mushroom people. But you are also a godlike, a person chosen by a god that gives them special powers. But mostly it makes you look like a freak and there's an annoying voice in your head, and that's all I can say about it. Now, while I'm gonna say what I say about this game, I am a fair guy. It's important to keep in mind that this game went through a pretty rocky development cycle. Avowed was originally supposed to be an online co-op multiplayer game, but that was scrapped in 2020, which was when we got the first reveal trailer with that dark fantasy tone to it. But then the game was rebooted again a year later to the art style that we now know it to be. Mushrooms! They got a full leadership change now, headed up by Carrie Patel, who had worked on the Outer Worlds DLC as well as Pillars of Eternity. But even then, this team still had to make the game from scratch, essentially while still in full production. So when something in the game feels like it's unfinished, that's the reason. But that doesn't make it okay. Let's start off with the biggest problem that Avowed has. Its world. You know, for a place called the Living Lands, everything sure feels lifeless. Yeah, you've definitely heard that one before. The cities in this game are amateur level bad. NPCs just stand there. They don't move at all, aside from an idle animation every now and then. Seriously, I don't think I ever saw one NPC walking around a city. They have no routines. They just stand there like trees. How are you gonna make an open zone game and not have any NPCs with any routines or any movement whatsoever to make the world feel real? Actually, I take that back. There are NPCs that walk, and when they do, they have a mini seizure when they do it. Oh my god, somebody call 911! But you know, Obsidian has been doing this for a while now. The Outer Worlds didn't have a lot of NPCs walking around it, but you know what the difference was? There were guards that did the rounds, and NPCs themselves had much more idle animations, and they would all talk to each other and have different conversations, so it masked the fact that they couldn't move. Avowed doesn't do any of that. Nothing interesting happens. Nobody moves. Nobody does anything unique. Nothing interesting pops up. You're not going to find a bar fight that spills out into the street like KCD 2. None of that is going to happen. Everything feels dead. Speaking of KCD 2, you remember what its cities looked like? Boom. Look at this. AA studio right here. $41 million right here. What are we doing, Obsidian? By the way, why is there no fish in the ocean? You got fish in this pond right here, but not in a massive body of water? What, you run out of budget or something? Obsidian? You can't destroy random set pieces in the world like cups or plates, but you can destroy certain boxes that have nothing in them for the most part? But alright, at least I can kill anyone I want to, right? Oh no.
Another drink. Oh shit, not good.
Alright, I could steal things from them and they can get upset, right?
Do you realize what you've done?
So let me get this straight. Not only do the NPCs not move, they don't even react to what you're doing? You're telling me I could just steal their things right in front of them and they don't do anything about it? What? I mean, look, after I helped Yatsel get her vase back, I just walked over to her backpack while she was looking through it, took all of her shit, and she just says this.
Darling, you are aware I can see you digging through my things, aren't you?
Yeah, I know. What are you gonna do about it? Oh, nothing. You'll do nothing, little bitch.
You'll do fucking nothing.
Trust me, I'll get more into your companion's reactions to you later, but this is what made me the most upset with this game, because let's go back to what I said on the development. When people say they didn't have time to fix things up and make things better, my question here becomes, says who? Who is making this deadline for you guys? Who is forcing you to put this game out at this time? You can't tell me it's Xbox. Xbox is notoriously hands-off. To their detriment, I might add. You can't tell me all of a sudden they're like, you need to put this out now. If there's any publisher that would be willing to give you more time to make a better game, Xbox would be the one. Wait, did I just compliment Xbox?
There's no way that can be right.
So that leads me to believe you didn't want to add any more to the budget to make these things better, so you could stay within the sustainable business approach that brings you mild successes that lets you live for 100 years. Oh, after you took everybody's money. Thanks for that. So with that context, you looked at this and thought it was okay. That's what pisses me off. You cannot tell me an average game developer looks at this and doesn't feel like they could do better, especially with the story and the companions, which, by the way, it's time to tackle that, shall we? So I could talk about the main story, but let's be real, that's not what's important at the moment. What's important is that aside from the world being the worst part about Avowed, a close runner-up is the writing. I could not stand listening to anybody talk in this game.
There's a plague on these streets, and they are a symptom.
A gang of bullies shaking down honest folk seems more like the cause to me.
It's no more dangerous here than anywhere else. It's just that monsters here have knives instead of fangs.
Will you shut up? Shut the hell up.
Everything is exposition. Meet a new companion? Exposition. Talk to a random NPC? Exposition. Get into a long talking section with Inquisitor Ludwin, who, by the way, looks f***ing baller. Exposition. Look, I didn't play Pillars of Eternity, so in theory, I would appreciate some explanations and this weird glossary thing every now and then to provide some context. That's not my problem here. What is a problem is that it's constant, and it doesn't feel natural either. Like, people don't go spouting the land's history or their life story whenever you get a chance to talk to them. Nobody in this game gets to the point. Like this one line from Kai. Just take a listen to this.
And Marius is good at finding things that want to remain hidden. Marius is from the Tusks, about the harshest and remotest place the gods ever created, even by the standards of the living lands. Let's just say no one survives out there without picking up a few skills.
Now look, I'm no professional writer, but what sounds better, that line or this one? Marius is one of the best trackers I know. When you're from where he's from, you need to be to survive. but he can explain that better than I can. I don't even think that line is particularly good, but you see how much quicker that was? While still making the same point, also creates some intrigue about, well, where is he from? Because you're not outright saying it. That's more likely to be said than the encyclopedia page characters are itching to read. Also, what's funny about how conversations flow, if you're talking to somebody and one of your companions butt in, the person just flat out ignores them and goes right back to talking to you.
I've certainly dealt with worse.
Now, Beatrice.
They're not Adiran regulars or magistrates. They're zealots.
Once Captain Alfie.
That must be how the ancient Achaeans referred to their god. To stop it all.
I am Lumena.
I don't think I've ever seen any NPCs acknowledge anything my companions said once. It's like, cool story, bro. So anyway, talk about feeling interchangeable instead of natural, at least when they're not being insufferable. Speaking of insufferable, I guess we now venture into spoiler territory, so if you don't want to know, here's the timestamp. Alright, let's roll. After playing Avowed, I have come to the conclusion. I hate how modern Obsidian handles their companions. Almost everyone is introduced the same way. Oh, hey, nice to meet you. Oh, you're going this way? So am I. Let's go together, shall we? All right, lead on. And everyone stays with you legitimately because they got nothing better to do. That may work for some of them, but it feels like almost all of them are thrust upon you without you ever getting a chance to form some form of connection with them. And once you do get them, you find that they're written in the most uninteresting and uncompelling way. Aside from Parvati, who feels like she was written by a completely different team. That is the same with Avowed. You have 4 companions: Kai, Marius, Giada, and Yatsli. Out of those 4, the most interesting one is Kai. Oh, I'm sorry, Garrus Vakarian.
The kid's in bad shape, but he's not too far gone. I think we can help him.
Oh, don't make me laugh. Damn it, my face is barely holding together as it is.
That voice brings warmth to my soul. Kai's dialogue is by far the best out of the group, and he's got some wit to him.
Been sick? Strange dreams lately?
Relax, Daran. The only strange dreams we've had involve your mother.
As you progress through the game, you also find out that he's also got some regret because of how he was responsible for his mentor's death when he was part of the Rautayan army, and helping him work through his pain actually felt pretty good to do. After that, big drop off. Giada's the only companion that seems like her story is woven through the plot, with her trying to find the cause of a lab accident that killed her parents. The problem is, she's a charisma vacuum and doesn't do much after this plot is done. Yatsli is just annoying, I'm sorry, although she kicks ass in battle. And then, there's Marius. Marius is one of the worst companions I've ever seen in any RPG. This guy serves absolutely no purpose whatsoever. You hire him to help investigate your death in Paradise, but he does nothing but bring the mood down every time he opens his mouth.
Right. I warned you they'd be useless. Or maybe I didn't, but I thought about it.
When did you become a poet?
Just blessed day now. Like it?
What are you grinning about?
Huh? I wasn't grinning.
Right. Well, stop it.
You don't seem very likable.
He doesn't even have any good lines. His lines don't even flow well because he mixes in dwarven curses and other words that make no sense, and he doesn't even feel like a stereotypical fantasy dwarf. He's just a guy. His voice acting doesn't exactly portray him jumping out of his seat with excitement. Also, they say he's a good tracker, so let's judge how he deduces certain things, shall we?
Right here. This is where the envoy fell.
If it were me, I'd take the shot from up there above the embassy. Let's see if we can get up there.
No shit, I could have told you that.
I bet the soldiers died first. And then the bear died of food poisoning. And then the bear died of food poisoning. And then the bear died of food poisoning.
What am I paying you for again? Marius sucks. Another thing that boggles the mind with me is that you only have 4 companions and only 2 of them have companion quests. Kai and Marius. What the hell? Why don't Giada and Yatsli have anything? Companion quests are probably the most interesting part of any RPG. Getting to bond with the people in your crew, getting you more attached to them. And there's only 2 here? That is frankly unacceptable. So it should say a lot when the first time in any RPG Marius' companion quest came up late in the game, and I didn't do it. I chose not to because he is so insufferable, I don't even want to waste my time with it. And after all that, do you want to know the worst part about your companions as a whole? They don't care about anything you do. Scratch that. They do care, but they don't do anything about it. There are choices I make in this game that make some of my companions upset, but literally 5 seconds later, they act like nothing happened. Like after I helped this one soldier betray her battalion, Giada here says,
"We'll discuss this another time. If and when I have the mental energy to deal with you." I wish you could have seen Emerald's... Between the two of us, thank you for helping Yatsli reach that vase.
Oh, that was quick. Your companions can't leave, and you can't kick them out either. So you're stuck with them no matter what you do. I mean, at least in the Outer Worlds, you can kick guys out of your crew or find a way to get them angry enough to leave. How many steps back are we gonna take? We're at the dawn of amateur hour here. I have no other way to describe it. At least they talk to each other in the camps, which gives some form of realism to everything. I like that part.
Oh, yeah. Nice eyes, chipped tooth. Thinking about her again, huh?
You thought we had a past or something, but I never seen her before in my life.
We could see her again if you want. I think she liked you.
Well, anyway, just wanted to clear that up. Yeah, a good talk.
Oh, wait, but you can only talk to them in the camp. You can't speak to them out in the world for some reason? Can you at least make this icon disappear then, since I can't do anything about it yet? Aside from your companions, there is one other thing that I cannot stand in this game, and that is Sapadal. Yeah, throughout the game, you have a voice in your head that pops up every now and then, sort of like the tadpole voice from Baldur's Gate 3, but like 5 times as annoying and cryptic. This turns out to be the goddess Sapadal, the god connected to you since you are a godlike. Her dialogue is just as bad as Marius's. It gets annoying every single time she comes back to spout some philosophical jargon that means absolutely nothing.
Clouds brew around our prison. There is much we cannot grasp. They come on foreign ships. Exiles grafted from other trees. The salt clings to their hair. The scent of distant shores to their skin. New growth from dead wood. Why? A new season. Wipe the slate. The ground stirs. New roots seek to grow.
Nope, I'm done. I can't do this anymore. Going back to people reacting to your choices, I talked like an asshole to her the entire time, and never once did she acknowledge it in other conversations or even the next line. It's like everyone in this universe takes insults like a champ and just moves on. Apart from Kai, Avowed does a horrible job making its characters feel likable and real, and the dialogue does it no favors either. One more thing before we move on. I mentioned that the world and the characters don't react to what you do, and while that is the case, there are some story choices you make that do change the world in a way and change how people view you. But it's only for a few minutes, or it comes up in a sentence at the end. For example, there's a decision you make at Shatterscarp where you have a choice. You can help cast a massive spell that destroys the plague in the area, but in order for it to work, a certain amount of people have to die. You don't know who or how many, but they have to die. You could do that, or you could destroy the ruins where it's emanating from and stop its progress, but it doesn't get rid of it. I chose to cast the spell because my role as an envoy involves me finding a cure to the Dream Scourge, so this makes sense. Cast the spell, soldiers die around you, and people remark on how you made a big mistake, and that this decision has impacted the city of Thirdborn itself. But when you go back to the city, you don't feel anything because it felt so dead already. Because cities in this game suck ass. Oh, there's a few NPCs missing? Alright, they weren't doing anything anyway. It's one of those problems where the world being so bad actually takes away from the consequences of your actions. It doesn't feel like anything has truly changed, apart from that one line where your companions ask if you did the right thing. But, I mean, what are you gonna do about it? Leave? But it's not all bad. I front-loaded this video with the bad because, like I said to start, Avowed is not a bad game. The main reason for that? Combat. So while whoever was the lead writer shouldn't write again for a while, whoever was in charge of the combat deserves a raise. I mean, holy shit, it's not just great, it's incredible. For a mainly first-person RPG, this might be the best melee combat I've seen in a while. The hits feel so impactful. You land a final hit and the body just goes flying. Once you fill up the enemy stagger bar, you can perform a little finishing move on them. You want to keep people coming back for more? This is how you do it. And it's also the variety of cool builds you can go for. You got great axes, wands, maces that summon black holes whenever you do a finishing move. You could be a knight, wizard, archer, sharpshooter. Yeah, which by the way,
They got guns, we got guns.
say hello to my good friend, the Arquebus. I'm sorry, we're still working on his people skills. There's so many loadouts you can go with. I went with a sword in one hand and a tome in the other, with an arquebus as my second weapon, which, by the way, spellcasting in this game is among some of the best I've ever seen from a first-person game. I say this even though I was mainly in third person. It's so enjoyable to pull off, whether you're chaining enemies with lightning, flamethrowing to melt their faces, conjuring a storm of icicles that build up freeze. I mean, for a game that I was very underwhelmed with, they got the most important thing right, and then some, which is why people who played Avowed, including myself, had a good time playing it, because the combat is so good. And you know what's another good thing about Avowed? The world layout. Even though I think it feels dead most of the time, the actual placements of dungeons, caves, landmarks, I kind of like it. I think they're multifaceted, they got some cool things to offer.
In retrospect, I should have seen that coming.
Like this one tower in Shadowscarp I came across, and I'm like, wonder what this is. So I climbed the tower and found 2 Rautayans that were setting up traps for any Adirians that came across. Pretty neat find. It felt pretty natural. I liked it. A bunch of places have cool chests at the end of them. You actually feel like you're getting something useful out of these dungeons. It never feels like a waste of time. However, despite me liking these 2 aspects of Avowed, even that is not perfect. Although I like the fact that there's cool stuff at the end of these dungeons, the majority of the time in Avowed, those chests will just have crafting materials. And while that is extremely useful for leveling up your gear, there's not a lot of times where chests have a cool weapon or badass armor, at least until the last level. So that makes the loot feel kinda underwhelming most of the time. Now, I'm not saying every one of them has to have one, but I should not be feeling like I have to buy weapons that are, by the way, expensive as hell, and the bounties don't even give you enough to buy one. I shouldn't feel like I have to do that because I'm not coming across anything in the world. Now, on the flip side, you get those upgrade materials, and you use those materials on your current gear to get them to each tier. So you do end up getting stronger anyway, and you won't be completely helpless. But that's the other problem. The tiers. Each piece of gear has a rarity. Common, uncommon, rare, you get it. You've seen it 1,000 times. But each of these ranks have tiers to them too. And it felt like for the entire game, I was always one tier behind where I needed to be. The enemies don't feel like they're properly tuned to where you as the player are expected to be, which makes things feel like a ridiculous grind sometimes. Even when you get a new tier or get a weapon that's the next rank up, immediately you'll start encountering enemies to the next rank. And it's like,
no. How is it not enough?
You want to make the great combat system feel repetitive thanks to spongy enemies? That's how you do it. This is where you start to feel that online co-op structure that they originally started out with. Maybe it was structured like this because they expected you to be with a friend and they had to make the enemies take more damage to account for 2 attackers. I don't know, but it does certainly feel like I'm chasing a carrot on a stick for most of this game. It's a shame because the gameplay and the dungeons are the best part about Avowed, and they're held back by underwhelming design at best and tedious at worst. Which is a shame because the foundation was right there. Avowed feels like a game that could have been so much better, but it's being held back by an unwillingness to do better. If there's one thing I cannot stand, it is people that settle for just okay when they are capable of doing so much more. Obsidian is a studio that has made some of the best games we have ever seen, and even though that was a long time ago, that prestige is still baked into the brand image. And I think running defense for this game is probably the worst thing you can do, because you're signaling to Obsidian that releasing underbaked or unrealized games like this is okay, rather than demanding you live up to the reputation and legacy your studio once had. But it does seem like Avowed turned a profit. Xbox stated that they're happy with the sales of this game, so I guess that's why they scope their games like this. But I caution Obsidian against this approach, because you will lose something way more valuable than money. You will lose player interest. Your past few games have been as forgettable as any I have seen, and if you forego what made you guys great in favor of this so-called sustainability, you might find yourself without any fans left. Because you can defend this all you want by talking about the development cycle, but with all due respect, that's not my problem. It is not my job as the consumer to care about development problems. Once I open my wallet, the only thing that matters is how good the product is. Because I truly believe that Obsidian put these restrictions on themselves in pursuit of sustainability and decided that it was good enough for release. And that is what pisses me off. You looked at the world feeling dead and thought that was okay. You looked at NPCs not moving around and thought that was okay. You looked at the non-reactions to your actions and thought that was okay. You looked at the fact that there were only 2 companion quests and thought that was okay. You looked at the dialogue flow and thought that was okay. You looked at Avowed and thought it was okay. But in 2025, you have no excuse for just okay anymore. Why? Kingdom Come Deliverance 2. That's why. My first real disappointment of 2025, Avowed without a doubt gets a 6 out of 10.